The most frequent questions in the comments was here about the buffs in the advanced editor. So let me show how to add buffs. So first thing is you give it a name, choose something that you can remember. For this example, just use buff. Important is here the type. So here we have the movement speed multiplier, and you can always set it up. So here it means the speed is 100%, which is normal, but you can adjust it and make, for example, 200. That means everybody moves twice as fast, or you can also slow it down to 50, so everybody's half as fast. Other buffs work similar. For example, here the shield regeneration, so every second it will add to. If you want to make it full shield in 1 second, then you go here to 100. Same with the damage scale multiplier. You can just make half the damage to every weapon if you add here 50%, or you can double to 200. The fling multiplier works the same way, and then here you have different things like X-ray, for example, that can just be turned on and off. The same with silence, can be turned on and off. You will find whatever you need here. There's a lot of options. If you want two effects at the same time, just press here, add additional buff effect, and then you can have two different things. Like here the movement is faster, but the damage is lower, just for example. So let's go back to the name. We changed the name into something more meaningful. Here we have a movement speed multiplier, so we give it the name super speed, and in the description we write, for example, this makes you fast. Now this description only makes sense if you notify here, because then you will receive a message that looks like this. An interesting function is here the max stat count, because if you have, for example, 2, then it's like if you eat the first pumpkin, for example, you can have like a speed of 200. If you eat a second one, it will increase to 400. Permanent here actually overrides the duration on the left side, so it goes down to 0. So if you make permanent, it just stays on until you deactivate it or remove on death. This icon will be shown under the health and the shield display. Here you can choose different colors for like the icon itself and the background, and it will show if the buff is on or not. You see it will slowly go down, and when it's disappeared, the buff is gone. Colors can be input with this very classical red, green, blue thing. In the second step we set up the triggers. So for this example we use flight ring, a trigger field, and the pumpkin. Then we go back to the event editor at the event, and here we first start with collect collectibles, collecting players, and then here as the action we just go apply buff, and if you only have one, it's already here, super speed, but otherwise you can also click it and just change to anything else you want. In case it doesn't work yet, or you want different kinds of collectibles, then I recommend you to have a look at this video which I'm posting here. Same thing goes if you use a trigger field as a trigger. Then you add a new event. Here choose trigger function. So every time when someone enters the field, it will trigger it, and it goes for a certain time. But here you apply the buff, and if you want to use a flight ring, do exactly the same thing, just use flight ring as a trigger. Okay, now I show you something a little bit more advanced. Normally when you trigger a buff, it will be on for a certain amount of time, no matter if you're inside or outside. But sometimes you want the buff is only on while you're inside and automatically turns off when you leave. So for this we need to work with a variable. So here add the variable, then give it a certain name, doesn't matter what it is. I choose here trigger box. Important is that the scope here is on individual. Now we need to go back to the event and define the condition. So the idea is if the person enters, the variable will be a 1, and if the person goes outside, it's a 0, so the game always knows if you're in or out. So for this we go here to the first if condition, the selected object, and then go here, the trigger box variable, and choose a 0. So if this is 0 and it triggers, then it applies the buff, but at the same time you will set the variable to 1. So the idea is when you enter, it will trigger this because it's 0, and then it changes to 1. And now you make the same, or actually the exact opposite thing for when you leave. So you go here, check the variable, but if the variable this time is 1, that means the person is inside and it triggers it. So it's basically when he leaves the box. Then you go here for remove the buff. Down here, remove buff, and then you choose also which buff. And for the variable, you set it back to 0 so the game knows the person is outside. Where is it? Here, set variable, trigger box 0. Now there's one last thing we need to do. We take here the trigger box and define the event that we just programmed as entry function. For the exit function we only need it if we did the thing that I showed you with the variable. And visible is always good, that the people can understand the map better. If you have any further questions, please leave a comment and I will try my best to answer it. Thanks for watching and see you soon.